Hello, guys. This is kind of my catch-all module here. I just call them life skills module. I got a bunch of people just asking about different things, and so I just kind of put some of the big ones I heard from. So essential questions: what tips should I know finding a job? What should I know about looking for apartments? What should I know for buying a car? So the finding a job, I think you've probably been over in some of the other classes. Where to look online. That's how I found this job was online. Sometimes different websites have different or different types of companies use different websites. That's gonna be something more specific in your field that you would know about what website you needed. Like I found out this one over specifically an education website. But the big one, networking, guys. Basically, this is where you build relationships, working relationships, or even friendly relationships with people in a certain business field. And then you kind of reach out and say, hey, does anyone in your network, people do they have any job openings? I had gotten countless interviews and stuff from people of different teachers I know. They would text, hey, I saw you guys have a social studies opening at so-and-so high school. Like, I got this student teacher. He's awesome. He's looking for his first job. What can I do? And so the network is huge. If you're a person that you just like to go through your day and not bother anybody and just sit there and do your work, but do it quietly, that's not a lot of fields is that going to be very successful. You really have to build relationships with people. And it's awkward. It's weird at first. But then, as you grow closer to folks, they're willing to fight for you and do stuff for you. Obviously, you need to build a resume. Again, I think you've been over a lot of this. I'll post some resume videos later on about it. But, professional to the point resume. Obviously, different careers are looking for different things in your resume. Obviously, you need to do a job interview. Look nice. Here are some tips, right? Dress nicely. Men, shirt and tie. And if it's a professional interview, you should have a suit on, okay? I'm talking any interview. When I interviewed at Meyer, I was in there in a full suit, okay? That just shows that, yeah, even though I'm going to be a grocery store clerk, I'm going to treat this job seriously, right? And that's something I think is super important, that you prepare and dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Come in with a portfolio, have some work samples. Again, not like you're not going to need work samples for working at Kroger, but for your professional jobs, show them your work samples. You want to research the company that you're in and looking for, being able to ask questions about them. You're trying to learn about that company, show that you really care about the job, and jot down questions, right? And because at the end, they're going to ask you for questions that you need to make sure that you are able to answer. So again, I'll also post some interview tips stuff with that later on. But again, that's a skill you got to work on, getting to know people. I actually got a lot. I was not thinking about this. I thought that was a great question. I got a lot about apartments because I'm sure many of you are moving out and looking at apartments. Honestly, the best way, looking online, apartments.com, Zillow.com, and then honestly asking around. Hey, does anyone know any apartments, so-and-so, things like that, okay? You are allowed to tour an apartment. Do not pay anybody anything until you tour that apartment. Okay, so you want to physically go in it, all right? View it, things like that. Okay, make sure you check the closets, make sure there's no mold. Okay, obviously you can't do a full-on home inspection, but you can see if the water runs and stuff like that, right? We want to live in a nice place. Things to talk about your landlord with. Ask who pays for the utilities, right? Is it you that pay the utilities? Is it in your name? Is it in their name? All that stuff. Ask about pets, anything that might apply to you. Air conditioning, things like that, right? You might be viewing a place in the winter, and you may not think about air conditioning in the summer, right? So you want to ask about that and figure out what's going on there. If you do decide to take a place, okay, and rent an apartment, you're going to have to sign a lease. Okay, that lease is a legal document. Okay, so if you better know that you're going to live there. That lease, usually it's 12 months at a time. And it's not like you can just get out of your lease. I mean, they can hold you to that lease and make you pay for the 12 months, even if you want to move. So make sure you really like that apartment and that you're going to be there for 12 months. Along with that, they will make you make a security deposit. This is your first month's rent. Sorry, it's not your first month's rent. It's equal to 1 month's rent. So if my rent is $500 a month, my security deposit is $500. Basically, what happens is your landlord holds on to that money. And if you do any damage to the house, to the apartment, they use the $500 to pay for it. Okay? Now, if you move out and there's no damage to the apartment, then your landlord will give you the $500 back. Okay, that's how that works. Here are some of the things to look out for. I won't go over all those, but things to ask and things to check when you're touring an apartment. All right, lastly, I heard a lot of people talking about buying a car. I'm going to go ahead and imagine most of us will be buying a used car right off the bat. So you want to do your research before you show up on the lot. Idea of what kind of car you're looking for. And you can actually see what the value of that car is based on miles and condition. There's all sorts of websites. One of them is the Kelley Blue Book. One of them is autotrader.com. There's all sorts, okay? That way you know, like, if the car salesman offers you $20,000, but Kelley Blue Book says it's only worth $10,000, you know you're getting ripped off, okay? You obviously want to test drive the car, okay? Make sure you drive it. Make sure it sounds like it runs right, all that stuff. You are allowed to ask for its service record, okay? That's like the Carfax, whatever, okay? And make sure it doesn't have any, accidents, things like that. Now, the biggest concern, obviously, when buying a car is negotiating. Remember, the sticker price, okay, and the sticker price, I should add this in, is also called your MSRP. That's manufacturer suggested retail price. It's what the suggestion for the price should be. The MSRP is not the price that you have to pay, okay? That price is negotiable. Now, here's a big tip for you. Ask to see the car's invoice. The invoice is what the dealership paid for it, okay? So the invoice might say a car is worth $10,000, or they bought it for $10,000, but they've written it up as MSRP is $18,000. Well, hold on, that's an $8,000 profit. That's a bit much, right? So you want to see, okay, what did you pay for it? Obviously, unless you really know the car salesman, they're not going to give it to you for invoice price, right? They want to turn around and make a profit, but at least that way you have an idea about what number they need to hit, because any amount over invoice, they're making money on, okay? Be careful of additional warranties and options they add on, okay? They also make commission on those, so be careful with any of the, hey, what about this extended warranty, things like that. One thing to also keep in mind, ask for the out-the-door price, okay? Taxes, titles, fees, all that stuff. You forget about that stuff sometimes. So if you have $15,000 to spend, okay, they might try and sell you a car for $14,500, and you're like, oh, I'm good, and then there's $1,000 of tax, titles, and fees on there. And it's like, whoa, now I'm spending way more than I thought. Okay, so you got to make sure that you're figuring out what the out-the-door price is going to be. And here's something to remember, guys. Their business relies on you. For every month they keep that car on the lot, there's another bill coming from the bank, because dealerships buy all these cars with loans. Okay, so every time that that car sits on that lot, it's accruing more and more and more interest that they have to pay. Now, I'm not telling you to go and take advantage of them. They have families too. They're trying to make their money, right? But just keep in mind that you're the customer. And if they're not offering you a good deal, then you can walk away. Then it's no harm, no foul, right? It's not something you have to get roped into, so some of the things that they do. But for the most part here in Tiffin, most guys are pretty good, about helping you out. But those are the things. Make sure you see what people have been buying that same car for across the state, so you have an idea of how much you should be spending. All right, thanks, guys.